Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Now this is a video that's going to be really focused on the new players, and obviously if you're kind of an older player to the game, then at least just watch on and support. Now if you don't already know, yesterday there was a fantastic video put out, and there may be a few people from Hacksmiths community that might be present and watching some new content, guides and things, and really getting to grips of, well, the new game and their freebie champion, the 2-star Civil Warrior. And if you need any guides for new players, then go and check out the links in the description. I've got two playlists that are going to be of help for you. The first one being new player and beginner guides, which you can see on screen at the moment. And as well, the Contest Round podcast, which is a podcast once a week that myself and Dan of Frontline MCOC put together. And we talk about a lot of things to keep players updated with what's going on in the community, as well as the Marvel Contest of Champions news, which I've run as well. Now, Now, I know a lot of players, when they start off in the game, they're like, well, what do I do first? Where do I go? I'd always recommend going and starting off with story quests and starting off from the very beginning, working yourself through things, just understanding the basics, learning to hold down your finger to block on your champion. So you're clicking your finger down and that will do you a block. And then it's a case of swiping to the right that allows you to then go at the opponent. And that's like a dash attack, like a medium attack. And as well, when you click down on an opponent, it is called a light attack. There's also a lot of fundamentals to learn, which a guide, which I've put a link in the description, will showcase more of, but we're going to talk about the value of Civil Warrior. But first off, you might find a lot of people talking about the value, and when you get to like a further progression with the game, Civil Warrior doesn't actually become a hugely useful champion. Back when you're doing the first act, you can see some value to this champion, especially going up against 1-stars. And if you've got 2-star, then you're going to be able to do 1-stars pretty easily. Like you can see, a huge amount of damage is done then just by swiping at the opponent. And obviously, one thing to mention is you've got the blue thing at the top left, which is an armor buff. Keeping in a block stance, as you can see, my thumb is down at the moment. It's important to just kind of like keep that down for a while, and it's all about holding and just looking to see what the enemy is doing. I swipe back because the enemy is doing something called a heavy attack, and it's a case we need to talk about the value of this champion as well. Hitting down multiple times like that is like a light attack, and then swiping is your medium attack, and doing your dash attack is one kind of like swipe of medium. But there's a lot more to that, and obviously there's a lot more to that champion. It's just a case when you get the very earliest start point, you'll feel like you're steamrolling through. So a 2-star, it's going to be really helpful, especially for a good chunk of the first act. As you progress on further with the game, you'll notice something that players talk about when it comes to utility. And when we talk about utility, we talk about value in different areas for different things. And in particular with this champion, if you do a heavy attack, which we'll talk about in a minute, you'll be able to do a heal block. And obviously it does exactly what it says on the tin. Enemies will get a green regen come up, and that's the point, like how do you stop the enemy from regaining health? And that will be from doing the heavy attack, and that obviously will do the heal block. So you're blocking that healing from being done. Now this champion has a lot of mechanics when it comes to the armor side of things. It has passive armor, which is more of a lighter blue colored buff, or it has a more kind of fuller blue type of buff. That's the kind of the true buff, so to speak. Either way, this champion can be described as very tanky. So if you know other games like World of Warcraft and other games where tank is really referred to, it's really that. Champion that can take a lot of damage and as well have very strong armor buffs, and it gains quite a bit. Throwing a special attack does reapply and work heal block in more, which is kind of important again for those circumstances that we said about a champion that would require to block healing coming in from enemies, block that regeneration, and as well the signature ability, which again is focused on that armor buff. So again, like ramping up that kind of like tanky behavior that we were talking about. Okay, let's quickly talk about the special attacks. They all have different things. If you want to control the power of the enemy, and by the way, if you're new to the game, don't get hit by a special attack 3. It's always important to keep an enemy throwing special attacks 1 and 2. If you're not very comfortable with evading, then keep into a block very early on, but through the lines you'll need to then learn how to evade special attack 1 and special attack 2. Or you can power control it, which the special attack 2 of Civil Warrior does do. On the special attack 2, you're able to deplete 60%. On special attack 3, you're able to deplete 55%. And if you take away all the power the enemy has, then you're able to do a power lock, which means that the enemy can't build any power. Now, for veteran players, Civil Warrior isn't actually considered to be an amazing champion. However, though, as I'm going to point out, it's actually a relatively effective champion for a new starting player, especially when you're learning more of like keeping into a block, which is important here. I'm not going to go into specifics of masteries and parries, and obviously a dexterity popping up, but a lot of the time you'll spend a lot of time in the block. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and build up the champion. We've got the armor up buff, which you can see in the top left hand corner, and parry obviously is that's a parry. That's something to unlock as one of your first masteries when you're new to the game, but I will try and keep into the block a lot more. It's just a force of habit when you've been playing such a long time. That was a special attack the enemy threw. So what we're doing is we're doing a method of staying in the block and then swiping back when we do the heavy attack their end, and we're going to try and see them do that again. We swipe back, 2 swipes, that's a light, swipe, swipe, that's your lights, or that's your mediums, and then swipe, swipe again, and we'll just swipe, tap, 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 swipe. So that's like a 5-hit combo. Now we're going to throw an SP3, and this is going to hopefully power deplete, which should power lock an enemy. It's fantastic animations, love the animations, they get better over time, but I didn't deplete all the power the enemy had. And because I didn't deplete all of that, it basically meant that the champion wasn't power locked. And if you are new to the game, just a quick thing, because obviously I did mention parry there, it's a case of like the first thing you unlock, proficiency section of masteries, unlock that, go to the next one, which is limber, and then go down to unlock dexterity. And that's really a good method to kind of like start off with. So when you're timing, so an enemy's about to hit you, you then hit down on your block side of things, and then what you do is you do a parry, which puts the enemy into a stun, and you're able to hit through a little bit more, which I'm going to try and avoid doing, especially for this video. But if you want a full breakdown, link is in the description to a guide, on a beginner's guide that showcases that starting point of the game. Now I have to do this, Captain America versus Civil Warrior. It's the old school shield versus the new school shield, if I can speak properly. And that's what we did there. We evaded the special one. Now when you get further on into the game, there will be stuff called like debuffs you got to concentrate on, and as well things like intercepting and stuff like that, which if you watch the video about the new player guide, you'll know more about. So to give you an idea of like evading, as we saw a moment ago, like there we go. We just swiped back, and we'll try and do a little intercept in a minute. That wasn't really an intercept because the champion just walked into us. And then we're hitting into the block. It's all about timing. Everything with Marvel Contest of Champions is timing. Now we're going to throw a special attack 3, and then what we're going to do is just drain some power. So there goes that amazing repulsor beam, and yeah, we power drain, but not taking the full extent of the power away from the enemy. We're going to stick into the block as well. And as I said, it's good if when you're very early on in the game is to then concentrate on 5-hit combo creation, also sticking into your block, parrying, dexterity, and evading stuff. That's important. And then yeah, just having fun at the end of the day, learning little bits here and there, and there's loads of different guides out there for different champions. And yeah, Civil Warrior. You can armor up for the SP1, which I don't think I've mentioned yet, which, look, I've got that passive armor up, which is going to be helpful, but at the same time, it's a walk in the park with Civil Warrior. Special attack 2 for a little bit of power draining off the enemy, not to mention the same thing with the special attack 3. You will have to rank up the champion. Just a lot of fun all over. There we have it. That's been a little video on Civil Warrior, deep diving some things that make this champion really good and fun, especially for new players taking on new content. Obviously endgame players, veteran players will probably have a difference of opinion, but the fact is this is a good champion for starting off with power control, with armor up, and obviously the emphasis of that, you know, if you're staying into the block, you can still learn a lot from the way of the enemy AI working that you can then go out and attack, and as well just learn some fundamentals and enjoy it. I would say that this champion won't be as viable going into at least Act 5, and especially with a lot of the end stuff of Act 4. However, though, there will be little pockets of enjoyment you can have with this champion, and especially getting this as a 2-star to start with is a good starter to get you involved with the game. Yeah, I only wish that my Captain America shield fired that kind of like repulsor beam, but you know, I'm not as engineeringly minded as Hacksmith is, but you know, well done, amazing work on that video. Now, don't forget to check out today's Marvel Contest of Champions news, which should be up there. And also on the far left, I might have put the playlist for the new players guides if you are interested in checking it out. Obviously, some other links here. I've got my join for a membership if you want to support the channel through membership. And the far left-hand corner is Rich's Realm, which is my channel that delves into, well, Marvel comic book history and as well the future Marvel Realm of Champions releasing this year. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye-bye.